All right. I'm gonna get crazy here. I'm gonna set my computer in do not disturb because people just want to keep messaging me on Slack, and this is important. So, hey there, everybody. Welcome to another session of Office Hours. I'm Steve Taylor. I am your host for the day, and I'm going to bring on our special guests. Our guests are Julie Ferraz and Sonia Pomerleau, and they are from Next Level Now. Now, before we dive into content or anything, I guess I'll start with a softball question. How are you ladies doing?
I'm good. Very well, Steve. How are you?
Good. I'm real good. So we've got 13 people in the lobby already. So while we wait just another moment for people to keep filtering in, I just want to let you guys know a few things. So, first and foremost, the chat is open. Feel free to use it, chat amongst yourselves, or send messages to us. Just make sure you pay attention. Um, sometimes you have to change who you're sending the chat to. So, if you want everyone in the room, including all the other attendees, to see it, just make sure you change that. Um, Next, the Q&A section is also open. If you have any questions that you are dying for us to answer, and by us, I really mean Julie, because I don't know anything, please feel free to pop those into the Q&A, and we will get to that as soon as time permits. Um, Finally, I have a poll that I'd like to run, and I will do that shortly. I do it like right when I start, and it's got a couple questions like, "Hey, do you want to get a demo or talk to this person? You don't know us yet. You don't want to talk to us yet, so I'm not going to launch that poll yet, but it's coming." Okay, so I just want you guys to know we don't do anything nefarious with the poll. Uh, if you answer and say you want us to contact you, we will contact you. Otherwise, you're not going to get put into our sales funnels. We don't want to waste your time. And frankly, we don't want to waste ours. So, um, with that said, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what alternative payments does. And then I'm going to pass it over to Sonia so that way she can give you an overview of what Next Level Now does, introduce Julie, and then we're going to dive into the content. After we tell you what we do, we're done selling stuff to you. Okay. Everything else is educational. So, alternative payments is at the heart of it a payment portal for MSPs. Um, I like to compare us to you personally have to log in and pay your electric bill, right? You don't want to send a check to the electric company. That sounds awful. But you log into the electric company's portal, you look at your bill, you update your payment data, and you make the payment. You might even set up auto pay. Well, that's what we give you. We give your customers the ability to log into a portal and get you paid. Most MSPs get paid within 36 days of sending an invoice. We get our MSPs paid on average within 6 days of sending an invoice. So if you are looking to speed up your cash flow dramatically, let us know. Give me a buzz, or just say yes, you're interested in a conversation when we send out the poll. With that, Sonia, hi.
Hey, Steve. So good to be here. And we know alternative payments because some of our clients use them, and it has sped up and improved their cash flow. Julie, are you able to start presenting here? We got just a few slides to help frame the
Yeah.
conversation. Um, and yes, Julie is going to be leading us today and talking about why MSPs miss in tech implementations. And we're not talking about doing tech implementations for your clients. We're talking about your own. So your PSA system, your financials, your GL, any of that. So yeah, next slide, please, Julie. And just a little bit about Next Level. We are finance teams for MSPs. Some people say fractional CFOs. Well, we're way more than that. Julie is one of our amazing MSP controllers. We've also got accountants and yes, CFOs as well. So we go into growth-minded MSPs and we embed within your finance team and help lead it. If you're looking just to grow, to exit, to improve, That's what we're here for. We know ConnectWise, Halo, all of the big PSAs, CASEAs, and Sleek Service Leadership Certified. So these are some of the things that we do. We really focus on forward-thinking financials, just closing the books and all of that. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Julie, who is one of our amazing controllers who leads some of our MSP clients into greener pastures with their technology. That's why I thought Julie would be the perfect person to help walk us through some of the pointers and tips that she's experienced going through a lot of these re-implementations of PSA systems. And Julie, you came from an MSP yourself. Could you just give us a little background on who you are and walk us through what we're going to be learning?
For sure, yeah. But thank you first, both of you guys for having me here. I am an actual avid follower of the series. I think there's so much value that comes out of these webinars. So it's very exciting to, be a part of one now. But yeah, so my background is in MSP. I've been working with MSPs for about 5-6 years now. Really working on kind of the bootstrap started, of things, going from mergers and acquisitions, and now working with multiple clients through all kinds of fun implementations, from very small, just doing alternative payments or bill.com or something like this, a little bit easier, to a full PSA system reboot and planning of everything else. So it's very rewarding work, but very you get to see the bolts that runs a company, right? So I get to see the whole background of everything.
And can I also just say, Julie, that a tiny bit here, I was in software sales, in the VAR ecosystem for almost 14 years. And I'll say from my experience and why I'm now at Next Level now is because we had consultants that weren't finance individuals doing these big implementations of Intacct, NetSuite, Acumatica, Microsoft, you name it. And the projects that went the worst were projects that were led by non-finance people. They were led by implementation people who were, like computer science folks and programmers and like probably yourselves that are super technical, but they weren't finance minded. And every time we did one of those for an ERP system, there was a huge disconnect between the end users and how the thing was set up. So I'm just going to say I'm here because I know how valuable it is to have a finance mind within one of these implementations. So that's what Julie's going to bring to the table today, is tell us the things that we all miss as we're implementing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that's 100% my goal and my view as well. It's finance is the backbone of a company. I always kind of say we're not just a drip pan that collects all the cash that comes through from techs. We are actually the driving lights. We tell you where you're going, how well you're doing, and if there's any adjustments that need to be made. And implementations are a big part of that. So we'll go over why implementation matters. Why should we care about this? Why should we put so much thought into it? Finance as a foundation, which is to your point, Sonia. The kind of very brief or 50,000 foot view of implementation framework, the kind of 4 proven steps, and then the return of investment on, what do you get if you do this right, and how does that help your business? So why implementation matters. Implementations are really more than just system upgrades. They're decisions that determine whether your business can scale. It can scale well. Everybody wants to make sure their business are growing and going in the right direction. And so, picking the right implementation, having the right plan for yourself can help a business scale with confidence. It also enables, business decisions and helping people, key stakeholders, whether it be external or internal, make better decisions for the business. And then I think the most important out of all of these 4 bullet points, is the perfecting of the valuation. You want to make sure that you are profitable, that you're doing all the right things, that your numbers are presenting well. Sometimes, that can get lost in the mix, or sometimes you think you're doing so great, but come back to after evaluation, say, hey, I'm not getting the multiple that I thought. And so this going through a proper implementation can help through that, kind of secure your spot in your value in your company. Actually, there is McKinsey, the global management company or consulting company. found that 50% of M&A value came from successful IT integrations. So it's not, it's very important to consider your internal system as part of your strategic plan in any sort of scale and growth. And then the easy part of the implementation is reduces friction within your team. It just makes life easier, makes life better. Everybody enjoys coming to work on a place that you're not, and you're not just like pushing and grinding through bad systems, that it's automated, it's fast, it's good, and everybody's on the same page. So, one of my favorite quotes when it comes to, integrations is from Guy Kawasaki. I always mispronounce his name. But he's
Kawasaki.
evangelist. Yes. And that's, he is a chief evangelist at Canva. He actually started with Apple, created this whole concept of being an evangelist for your business, and an awesome venture capitalist. But he says, organizations are successful because of good implementation, not good business plans. So it really goes to show that it's not about just visions and ideas. It's about the execution, how well your systems can support, your workflows, your team, and especially your financial clarity.
I like that quote.
It's, it's something that feels almost a little bit counterintuitive to the typical business mindset. As long as you're going out there and you're selling and you're doing the work, you'll be successful. And I think that is true to a certain extent. And then comes all the stuff, the muck that can get you really stuck in an area. So it's key to keep going. So again, in the concept of why does it matter is the cost of getting it all wrong. So 70% of digital transformation projects fail to meet goals, which I think is just bonkers. 43% of projects go over budget. Now, I personally actually think this number is low compared with
really
what I've seen.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of projects where they just, you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, and when you're not properly planning out a project, like, I'm blown away by how organized one of the new guys that just came on board with alternative payments is. He is like changed so much about how I'm doing what I do every day. And I'm like way more organized than I used to be now. And I'm getting so much more done too. Like I always thought like, oh, filling out all these forms would slow me down. But now I've got like a to-do list where I just go through and systematically fill everything out. All that to say, if you just take some time and plan things out, it feels counterintuitive because it takes time to do, but you're gonna get so much more done in the same amount of time, and you're gonna make fewer mistakes.
It's definitely that human nature side of things where it's extremely counterintuitive. Just go slow, where you think, okay, I can't go too slow. It's going to inhibit my progress. No, it will slow is smooth is fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of builds that consistency, the standardization, and it's very clear on how you're going. You got to learn how to walk before you run kind of concept. And yes, and I think with this number, the things that people don't account for sometimes in the wrong implementation, especially with large systems, it can be the missing billing cycles or delays in billing cycles. Now your cash flow is impacted. You're not receiving money as fast and you're having to, take care of all that. There's the labor tracking, reporting. Everybody gets frustrated. These are the emotional tears, blood, sweat, and tears that is not accounted. And I think if we were to actually account for all of that, this percent would be maybe 143%. It would be much larger. And then 56% of projects deliver less value. And this is again the part where I think maybe the percentage is correct, but the sentiment sometimes gets missed. And that every software out there will sell you really great, like we are fantastic, we're perfect, we can do X, Y, and Z. And maybe they can, but that doesn't mean that they're right for you. Right. And so having that understanding beforehand can save you quite a bit of headache and money in the end.
Well, not only that, but like sometimes you set your MSP up a certain way because you probably worked for a different IT company and you saw all the things that they did wrong, or at least in your mind that they did wrong. So you're like, I'm going to do it different. Well, now you start doing it different. Great. You're running your business your own way. That's the joy of being the boss. You get to make all the decisions. But the problem is a lot of these tools, like your PSA is a perfect example. These tools are all set up to like operate within certain parameters, right? And you can change some things here and there, but like for the most part, they're all designed relatively similar. And that's because they have all found that IT consulting firms, MSPs, um, they all operate best when they do things a certain way. So as frustrating as it is to look at all these PSAs and go, well, none of them do it the way I do it. Maybe you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Ooh,
It's not a secret sauce kind of thing. And the recipe is out there for pretty much everybody to use and make. So now and here's the big number. But the estimation is $2 trillion get lost each year to failed software implementations and poor system quality. Now I know this number is big and it may seem like it doesn't apply to maybe smaller companies, smaller businesses, but it truly, truly does. It consumes everybody from your startup to a multi-million-dollar company that you would think that they would have it all put together. But no, it affects absolutely everybody.
Now, I gotta say, this number, just looking at it and without putting any thought into it, this seems ridiculous.
Yes, but
like $2 trillion?
Yes. Yeah. It's insane. And that's the thing. These are massive overhauls of systems. We've seen people, they jump into the contract, all of a sudden they go through all the costs to try to implement, only to realize it wasn't the solution they were wanting to. So they now got to repivot, redo it again. Multiple different implementations just to kind of get it right. So all those costs kind of adds up and it sneaks up on you. Again, that's the counterintuitive part. You think you're not going to go through it. You're going to be different and you picked and you did all this stuff. But, that's why I'm saying the heart should be in the finance, because if you have some of these stakes in your finance in mind, it will kind of help you guide and pick a software that is correct for you instead of having to go through many different trials and tribulations to get there.
Now, I want to pause for just a moment and do two things. One, I'm going to launch the poll. So if you guys could please take a moment and fill that out. Two, I just want to say, it is a torrential downpour here. So if something crazy happens, like my internet or power go out, I will be back as soon as I can. Just keep going without me.
The rain we're about to get on the East Coast for 2 weeks, I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
We're kind of actually looking forward to the rain a little bit. So got some new garden.
Yeah. No.
I'm looking forward to the rain because, we just planted a tree last year and I want the tree to, survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pollen will be good. That's good for the pollen too. Wash it away a little bit.
All right. We can keep going.
Perfect.
Awesome.
There you go. So why do implementation fails? It usually is never the tool, but usually the misstep and some of the kind of mistakes we make along the way. So the three main that I always find is the skip discovery, silo decisions, and then go system champion. The skip discovery, I would say, you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you are. It takes, understanding of what problems am I trying to solve and what do I have in place now. Sometimes you can solve the problems that are coming up in your tech team or any sort of department by maybe using the tools that you have and kind of making the best of those those systems before implementing a new one. So figuring out the pain points, who owns what documentation do I have in place already, kind of starting there. Silo decision, sometimes departments can go rogue and then say, I need this system and I need it now. And they go and if they have the authority, they might sign up for it and start going without understanding that what they do affects other departments. It's never out of malice, but it creates a lot of frustration between departments or between groups. So that can always be it's always a pain point. And then the system champion, it's no one was responsible for the tool after the initial setup or post launch. There are many kind of ways to kind of lead that and kind of guide the implementation post that official launch. Otherwise, people tend to fall back to what they know best, to what they're used to, maybe doing some workarounds because it's a little less friction in the beginning. And so it can get often ignored. And now you just wasted money on that implementation for no reason.
So on the discovery, Julie,
Okay.
specifically with it, like, let's say PSA,
Mm-hmm.
you're switching from ConnectWise to Halo or whatever, name your system.
Mhm.
Who should be in on the discovery at what level of detail? And is it like one person that's running?
No, yeah. Usually it is a fine balance. Too many people can cause bottlenecks in decision making because it's hard to
Right.
consensus across everybody. Too little people, and then you don't have enough perspective. So it's definitely finding that will be on a case by case, on a software by software, any other company in your culture. If you have a company and culture that they're very open and honest, then sometimes having maybe a couple, let's say 5 people, right, from each department that get involved, they'll be able to communicate honestly like what their pain points are, and so you don't need more. I'd say definitely from like a must have is your finance, having somebody from finance. Ideally in my mind, a controller. I'm a little bit biased on that. Simply because, controllers, we're looking at data, we're analyzing it, we're figuring out not just the data entry part, but what are we doing with that information? So it's very important that we have all the data, all the reports, all of the bills on time and expenses on, make sure everything we understand it all.
So it's not just the service manager.
Not just the average manager.
Right.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
they're great, right? So it would be maybe a finance person, an ops person. You can have, depending on the software, maybe somebody from marketing or just understand how that would look from a PSA perspective, for example. And you mentioned the ConnectWise to Halo, seeing very often that transition.
I could see
Go ahead.
I could see wanting somebody from marketing because, for example, you've got all of those email notifications that you're going to send out from your PSA. Let me tell you, there's a lot of email notifications if you just leave the default settings on. So you're gonna need somebody to kind of help you map out all the different notifications, and you're gonna need somebody to almost be like a solution architect for the PSA. So somebody to take ownership of setting it up and building out all the workflows and all that stuff. But you're right, you should have somebody from every department really have a hand or a voice in helping your company set this tool up, because we're talking about a PSA right now, right? I mean, this is the heart of the business. That
Right.
what does ConnectWise say? If it's not in ConnectWise, it never happened, right? And MSPs have kind of taken that and used it for all of the PSAs because it's true. So yeah, you should absolutely have somebody from every single department helping you craft the way that the PSA works. And there should also be somebody who's kind of like in charge of the project. So that way, because everybody's got an idea. And I think we were just talking about it in a different meeting I was in where, when your company has this big thing going on, whether it's an event or a project or whatever, everyone wants to have their DNA be part of this project, right? That gives them that warm and fuzzy, like, oh, that was me. Well, but you got to have somebody that can veto some of these ideas because not all ideas are good ideas.
Yeah, 100%. It's your brand, it's who you are, and it matters. your implementation of your software should align with your long-term goal. And so that's where having those key stakeholders be involved matters. Otherwise, you would tend to have people kind of go their own way and kind of go their own vision, and it should really be aligned and solidifying that. One mind, one direction.
Yes.
So this over here, the implementation essentials, again, with the finance as the anchor or the heart of it all. I have the six prongs that I always think about, regardless of the size of the implementation. It really is across the smallest to the largest. Now, maybe not everything is applicable all the time, but if you think about it in these 6 versions, you'll be covered in direction. For me, I always start with the chart of accounts, since that is the roadmap and backbone of your business. Everything stems from there. Sometimes, an example usually here is like implementing a new pay system. You might have to create a different GL that takes on your, merchant fees. So just figuring out understanding the structure and make sure that your structure is prepared to handle that implementation matters. I think for you from a PSA perspective too, sometimes make sure that your chart of accounts can sync properly. That's been a recent challenge I discovered, is that the naming was too long. And so we had to kind of, redo certain things or kind of go back to the software and say, help us. Your system needs to allow us for this for our chart of accounts. So, second is product and services. It is the meat and potatoes of your business. This is what you do, what you sell. And so having a clear, set view of what your products and services list looks like is important. Sometimes I think that one of the pitfalls I find in this one comes with quoting tools. There's a lot of really nice automation tools out there right now where you can connect directly with Amazon and Dell. And so you can, you don't have to kind of manage the item and descriptions. However, when those tools sync, or when that gets used to quote, all of a sudden it's just flooding your system with different versions of your product. And so you tend to end up with lack of visibility and profitability on the product. Because there's too many out there, it's kind of hard to group them, and who's going to be managing that? So having that view can help. Third is roles and permissions. Who is going to have access to the system? What kind of access do they need? Should they have it? Especially in the world of security and thinking about, protecting your data. Having the roles and permissions mapped out, or at least thought of in the back of your brain on this software is key. Time tracking and labor is huge. This is where, again, and maybe face value, sometimes it's just, all right, my tech team comes in, they log their time against their clients. We call that, that's it. Especially if you have the all-you-can-eat model, you're not really too concerned maybe on tracking that time. But it matters so much, again, back to the valuation of your company, how your company is operating. This is tied to utilization of your team, how well everything's are mapped, how well is your revenue covered by your tech team. So time tracking. And we want to make it easy, not a difficult process for them to go in and keep track of their hours. Documentation and SOP is huge. And I kind of actually see it as a little bit of a slight, maybe instead of a 6, it's actually 7, because I see it in 2 places. I think I mentioned that a little bit before. Documentation should be at 0, where what do we have in place right now? And then the documents and SOPs that we need to create after this implementation. What is that going to look like later? They can't rely on old SOPs for new systems, and can't forget the old SOPs without, implementing the new system. So it needs to kind of be a both view there. And then lastly, reporting and dashboards. There's a good saying that we had in the company here of being in the weeds, which usually is my world. Steps 1 through 5 are that operational in the weeds. How does things function inside of your company? Reporting and dashboard is that overview, how well, again, you're succeeding. It's that gauge, right? Do you need more oil? Do you need more gas? Do you have enough tire pressure to keep going? And so reporting dashboard is key.
And isn't that a good kind of discovery teaser too, especially for executives? Julie is like, what do you want to see? And then back into that. So start with the end result of what you need and what's bothered you by the old system.
Absolutely.
And then, all right, let's back into how to build that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that, a mediocre tool implemented well will outperform, the best in class tool implemented poorly. And that is I think really ties to number 6. Because if you just have a rinky-dink tool, but you can get the best reports and best dashboards, you are golden. You can completely outshine anything else. And I always, in the back of your mind, valuation. What's the value of the company? If somebody were to look and come in and saying, hey, I want to see X, Y, and Z, could you get that for them easily? Or would it be, a mountain worth of work trying to get through Excel spreadsheets to put together documentation? So process will be promise every time.
And do you look at SLI benchmarks and you're like, okay, these are the number, even if you don't know it, these are the numbers that you should have if you ever plan on selling or merging or anything. Okay.
100%.
Cool.
And I want to say, more than half of the people that filled out the poll are in the $5 to $10 million of revenue range.
Yeah.
So you are probably at the point in your business where you're starting to think about valuation. And if you are, or if you will be soon, reporting and dashboards is critical. Honestly, all of these things are critical. Documentation and SOPs. The more you can get out of your mind and your tech's minds, and even like the leadership's minds, and get down on paper, the more valuable the business becomes, because now it's the business that has value and not the people that have value.
Yep.
Not that the people are worthless, but you want the business to be building value.
Yeah, and that's that you can't scale something you can't measure, you can't forecast on incomplete data, you can't onboard a new acquisition into chaos. So it needs to be a more of a clinical approach than just what feels good in that moment or what we might believe is right.
Yeah.
And what about simplifying things too? Sorry,
Don't be ridiculous.
You just keep something, Julie, because, for acquisitions, like if you've got a fairly straightforward process, then it will be that much easier to add others into it, right? That was always just pulling your hair out for me through that decade of working on implementations was, we want the button green. I was like, but it comes blue. You really want me to potentially break it just to make it green? It's blue. Can we just live with that? Like, so isn't there some, like, you kind of have to, you don't have to force fit your business into it, but like, where is that cutoff of, is this modification or customization going to be dangerous? And is this putting me out of that simple bucket? Like that's a hard thing to know where rein in, right?
Yep. 100%. Especially with with the technology that we have now. I mean, everything is very shiny and exciting, and everything seems that if we can automate this, now all problems will be solved. But it can create more confusion than what it's worth at the end. And that's why, coming back to the same thing, having your team that's vetting and helping you think about it in every aspect and make sure that you're not just thinking about one department as a silo. But then 2, making sure that you're thinking of that end goal in mind. What do I want to be? Where do I want to be 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, a year, right? Like, what am I working towards? And does this tool serve purpose? And at that end, why? And it's okay. I think, sometimes it's okay. A tool might only be there for a year, 2 years. But as long as you know that, and you know that this is a temporary fix of this problem, and we're going to add a team, we're going to do something different, that's okay. Just make sure that you're aware prior to it. I think if
building
keeping
a house,
expectations
right?
accurate will
Yeah.
lead to less disappointment later down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And knowing that you're going to expand the house, you can at least set it right or just know what your expansions are. You don't have to have everything at once either.
Yep.
I'm genuinely curious, and this might be one of those things that's like hard for you to say out loud, but toss an answer in the chat if you're brave enough. Where do you think your company could improve when you look at these implementation essentials? Like where do you feel like maybe you could have done better when setting up your PSA and your accounting solution together?
Yeah.
I'm genuinely curious.
Me too.
So, let's go to the next slide, and then after that, we'll see if anybody answered, and we can talk about that.
Sure. So really, after thinking about the 6 prongs, the next step is just executing. So what does that look like? And the 4 steps is the discovery, the vetting, pilot, and the rollout. And the typical rollout of typical implementation, that is spanning between 4 to 6 months, 4 to 8 months. I have seen really large system implementations that take about 12 months. Again, it depends on the system, depends on your company, how large it is to get everybody trained. But it all spends the same. So no matter what, if you get these guys memorized, you'll know. Discovery is the same kind of process. Make sure that you have your current process mapped out. Make sure you understand the risks. Define your must-haves and your KPIs. That is, like I mentioned, some best-in-class metrics, knowing how is this going to get us from A to B. So really taking some time in that discovery period. The second step would be the vetting. Pressure test the tools with your best and worst case scenarios. Sometimes actually I think it's easier to start with the worst case. We've had the best nightmare ticket happen. How would this new system handle it? What would happen if we had that in place? So kind of have that and the cross-functional input and seeing how that would be handled. The other part I usually recommend here too is use the sales team from the software that you're looking at to talk about another system, right? So if one quick example, we could use Bill.com. Let's say you're trying to implement Bill.com or alternative payments. Just go to one of them and say, okay, how are you better than the other? So you start to hear, from them some points that you didn't think about prior.
I like that idea, but at the same time, and I'm not going to name names, but there's another company out there who is telling just blatant lies about ours.
Oh,
And I don't know, like I like that approach because I always take the people are inherently good approach, but sometimes there's just a bad apple who will really, oh man.
yeah.
Well, you can bring all that feedback to the other competitor and say, 100%. True?
Yep. It's definitely not just a one side. It has to be or you're just doing research. You're trying to hear from them. They're going to be biased. Everybody's going to be biased to their version. And you do want that because you want to see the best of their system and you want to make sure you're sifting that out and saying, does that work for me? It's just, and that's how I learn. So it's easy to just kind of conversationally ask, okay, what about this? What about this ticket? What about, how would you handle X, Y, and Z? And then letting the kind of conversation happen naturally. Oh, yes.
And talk to your peer group, right? Like talk to your peers, your buddies in the industry.
Hopefully you have buddies in the industry.
Yeah, you better. And sorry to Julie, like we have a great comment from Riley that we didn't realize the complexity of Halo and didn't take a finance first approach for NetSuite and Halo. Oh man. And when you gotta, the integration and everything, that's really tough.
And those are 2 heavy applications too.
Yes.
Yeah, Halo is great. I think it's so customizable, but because it's so customizable, if you don't have somebody leading you through that implementation, you can get so lost so quickly. So definitely feel for that, Riley. been there a couple times. So
And I was
Yeah.
having a really interesting conversation with an implementer the other day, and they were saying how they implement Halo quoting instead of using a third-party tool. Apparently, Halo's quoting tool is incredibly powerful. It just takes a lot to set it up and customize it. But once it's set up, it's able to do most, if not all, the things that you can do with these third-party quoting tools. And then it's able to work with the Halo workflows and automations that they have built into
Right.
their platform.
yeah, definitely a huge nod to Halo and having their open API. I actually recently got to see some of the backside of Halo, which is very cool. But yeah, I think there's just caution in making sure that you're doing that carefully. The problem sometimes with these third-party consultants that can come in and say, "I'll help you set this up," is that they do that. They create something that really only they understand because they're not
Mhm.
thinking about your business as a whole. They're not
Yeah.
thinking about how you do your day-to-day.
Mhm.
And then they leave, and then all of a sudden, everybody's just confused. So it's I've seen it more often than I think I wish to say, basically. But
Yeah. And the more customizable the system is, the more dangerous it is, right? We always said that with Salesforce is like the good news is it can do everything. And the
Mhm.
bad news is it
The
can
bad-
do everything. And so,
Yes.
and that's not sustainable because in 5 or 10 years, your business model changes or something, your team changes, and try unwinding that mess, right? It's like homeowner renovation work. It gets really ugly really fast and you don't know what's built on top of what.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why in 3 to 5 years, you're like, oh well, our team's changed, our whole company structure's changed. We're just going to change to HubSpot. We don't
Yeah.
need Salesforce anymore.
And people think that just the tool, it's not always the tool. It's usually how it's implemented and how it's used. All the tools do a lot of the same stuff. Like
You're
some
you're
companies are more
absolutely
mature than
right.
others.
But one of the trains of thought that I always had when I ran my
Yeah.
MSP, and I'm not saying it's right, is all right, I took all this time to set this tool up, and now I've changed everything. And it would be more work for me to like go through and undo all of the things that I set up and then change the way it's set up and set it up right. So I'll just switch to a different tool and set that one up the way it
Yeah.
needs to be set up.
Burn it down. Burn the
Yeah.
house down.
So
Yeah.
that's not to say, oh, well, I'll just switch tools is the right answer. Because, like you
Right.
said, Salesforce is incredibly powerful. HubSpot's incredibly powerful. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. But sometimes it's just easier to, like you said, burn it down. And maybe the
Yeah.
answer, maybe Halo is the right answer. Like you're already on Halo, but it's implemented so poorly. Sometimes it might just be easier to talk to the team at Halo and say, hey, can we spin up another tenant and run them side by side concurrently for a little while and get that one set up, migrate the data, and then off to the races.
From again, thinking valuation, thinking what you're doing in your business, sometimes, yeah, I like that idea. Just kind of start fresh from a new. It's not instead of moving the system, changing the program. It's just saying, I'm going to start with a new set. We do that in QuickBooks, actually, companies that maybe have bad data, instead of like trying to go back and fix historical, say, all right, from here on, we're going to do this now. And then again, if you're showing that set of data to, investors or anything like that, you can show, oh, wait, we knew we were doing wrong. Now we're doing it correctly. There's value in there that, so absolutely. It's
Is
a
it
great idea.
is this a good chance to or opportunity to start new with a new GL system? Not even system, but let's say you're in QBO, you want to stay in QBO, but you want to just totally redo your chart of accounts. Is this a good?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the thing. It's not, to me, it comes back. It's not about the tool, kind of what you're saying. It's about, do you know where you're going and how you're going to get there? And the 6 versions, right? The 6 prongs of that finance at heart matters. Make sure that you have the right chart of accounts. Make sure you have your product set and how you're going to manage that, your roles and permissions. So if you kind of go through that exercise, thinking about it as a whole unit, yes, you'll end up, it just puts you in the right position. My biggest
Right.
thing to say to that too, though, is the burning of the house and building it back up is a lot of work. This is how we get, I know, Steve, you're an unbeliever of the 2 trillion number, but this is how much you start to add up, because that's so much time to recreate your company. And maybe that's just, what is it? What's the word? It's just, not alarmist, but it's, like, you don't need to. Maybe things are not as broken as you think. You just got to make sure that you're coming back to the table, implementing your system.
The sky is falling. All is lost.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, like, just start a new company, just put a new name, see if you're
Right.
and we know
Right.
that ain't true, but
And if your chart of accounts doesn't match SLI standards, I mean, if you're looking for some sort of exit, like, do it then, right? Like, do it while it's like when you clean out your closet, just get rid. Yeah.
Wait, you
Don't
clean out
move
closets?
all your old crap into your new beautiful house. Get rid of stuff, right? Junk in, junk out.
absolutely.
We have boxes we still haven't unpacked, and we moved in here in July.
Just donate them, right? You don't even know what's in there.
There's a community yard sale in 2 weeks, and I'm
Mhm.
strongly considering it.
Do it.
But then I got to put stickers on everything. You get tables.
A lot of work, Steve.
All right, let's keep going.
So after the vetting, whichever method you choose to go through that, the pilot is key. Now, the pilot, I recommend use the trial period. You can usually get between 30 to 60 days on the software. You can go in there, select your group. Again, have your people that are going to be testing and kind of trying to break the system, and break it. Pick them in a couple customers that you know are loyal and you can trust them and have been with you a long time. Say, okay, we're gonna send out some new invoices or go into our new customer portal and put in some ticket requests for us. As long as they're okay with it and know that it's a test, you'll see a true day to day. It does take a little bit more work. Maybe some of the people in this group will have to kind of manage 2 softwares simultaneously, right? They'll have to keep the old one and the new version. But you really get to define and refine all of the little quirks that you wouldn't catch at the vetting stage. Every software at the vetting stage will say that it works. When you test it, it won't. So just break it, enjoy it. And then you have a group. The sales team will help you through all the breaks for free, because they want you to sign at the end of that trial period.
You sure do.
So usually, again, let's say 4 to 8 weeks on that. And then you have your rollout. Again, implementation is not just when the system goes live. It's much more after that. So make sure that you're training your teams, you're assigning ownership afterwards. Maybe through trackers or any sort of communication of issues that you're finding. And then I'd say schedule your 30, 60, and 90-day reviews to make sure that it's still going well. And you're catching any sort of roadblocks, much sooner than you would maybe 6 months down the road. Oh no, now it's not what we thought it was. Maybe it's the worst. Maybe we should have stayed where we were. It's a tough kind of place to be later on.
And then use a system too, right? Like, I'm just thinking about minutia, but little details of like having a spreadsheet or a Monday.com or whatever to collect feedback. So it's not absolutely bearing that person who's leading.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, 100%. And I think there's the part of getting the system to be working well, right? Working to its baseline, the 80%, the 80-20 rule. Get it to that 80%. Once you kind of feel comfortable, your team is comfortable, and everybody's trained, work on that, on optimizing the remaining 20. Working on making sure that every part of the tool that you have is getting utilized and it makes sense for you. So.
And I just want to throw out there, if you are working with the salesperson at a company and they're pushing back saying that they're not going to give you a trial or a demo account to use for that long, tell them that you're not interested because you have a defined implementation plan that requires a 2-month pilot. And if you're not going to get that pilot, you can't consider their platform.
Yep. And I've never sold ConnectWise, but every CRM and ERP publisher that I worked with has done this, which is, okay, sure, I'll sign, but I want 4 months free.
Yep.
I don't care if, 4 months free. What does that mean? Oh, okay. It means my 12-month subscription is 16 months for the price of 12, they will do that. So push, because it's going to take longer than 8 weeks to implement. I guarantee it. And they will do that. They will eat that little cost to extend your free period or extend your first year term.
They will extend it.
They're
not gonna give you 4 months of the 12 for free. They'll give you 4 months free for you to ramp up, and then they'll give you 12. Or sometimes they'll give you a ramp where like the first 2 months are free, the next month is 50%. You know, every company is different, but bottom line, you can make some demands in that sales process, especially if you are the size that you say you are and you're that $5 to $10 million MSP. You know, you've got some leverage. Obviously you're not the biggest fish out there. You're not the 20, but you are a good size MSP. You're working with a few thousand endpoints, and they need to respect your process, or you'll just take your ball and go home. And another thing that I've seen is getting an out in the contract. So during that free period, if you determine that this platform is not for you, you should be able to cancel the contract as well. Make sure that's written in the contract.
That is my recommendation as well, is make sure you have an exit clause. And then, if all else fails, if the trial can happen and you don't want to get inside a contract, see if they have a month-to-month plan, you might end up paying a little bit more of a premium price, or you can discuss that. But if you'd rather have that cost of maybe, let's say $500 that 1 month, than to have, 10 grand and now you're stuck. So make sure you're kind of looking at your options. And again, your team, right? Look at your team and see who, because if your company is big enough to have a business development plan, or you just kind of talk to them and see maybe like lawyers or stuff like that. You can kind of involve more people to kind of help you through this selection process.
Yep. And you won't get if you don't ask. So ask for a discount, ask for free stuff.
Yep.
You'll be surprised at what you can get when you ask.
Ask for some swag to get sent to you after you sign. Ask for all kinds of stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still waiting on some swags though. They're slow on that. But yeah, that's definitely some perks. All right. Here. So some kind of key takeaways. Start with your discovery, not the features. Map out what's broken, make sure it's working. Don't let one department run solo. Assign a system champion. This is going to be key. Whoever that's going to be needs to own that system from the implementation all the way through its kind of official completion. After the training, make sure everything is handled. Don't assume adoption happens on its own. Train, and train. It's going to be a lot of reinforcement of process, especially when you're, from a PSA perspective, when you change your entire kind of process and workflow, it's going to be very important to reinforce that change. And then build structure before automation. Good data relies on good setup. So very great.
Yes.
Sorry, I just realized that's the last slide.
It's great. Oh, it's great advice. What kind of questions do we have? Really? Yep. And anything on the Halo side? I know I've heard just lots of people are considering Halo. Is there anything there, Julie, that people should know?
Yeah. It's a very specific question, specific to some of the issues people are having. I'm happy to help in how I can. Yeah.
Riley asked, he said, apologies, I was 2 minutes late. Can we get a quick recap on the services Next Level now provide and how they can help MSPs?
Yeah, absolutely. And Riley, we're, everyone knows fractional CFOs, right? But we're embedded finance teams. So we have CFO controllers and accountants. And it's interesting, Julie sounds like an implementer, because you are, but you're implementing as a finance expert, and you're understanding even down to the ticket level of how MSPs work in billing and contracts. So we've got clients where we implement and re-implement PSA systems, and we're staying there. Julie's still the controller, but she also is able to be that sysadmin that when she sees a funky transaction come through or someone has a question, she can go in there and be highly technical and understand how to fix it or what adjustment to make or an SOP to adjust or a person, So we really get in there and stay in there. And usually clients are with us for anywhere from 2 to 4 years. So it's not just like a break fix model or project model. We stay in there for the long haul.
No hit
usually.
and run. We're in it with you. We're in it through the muck. And through the good. I mean, it's not just muck. It's once we get a client to a really steady state, it's very exciting.
And to stay there, right? Because
rewarding. Yeah.
Sorry to talk about myself, but being in the trenches for a decade, we'd be like, well, it's what we said was in the work order, so we're gonna go now. Bye-bye.
Real human.
And then goodbye. Slow walk away and hope they never call you because we did spec out what was in the work order, but we didn't uncover every rock and stone.
And that's the problem.
And it's not my fault. I didn't know. So it really but if you have someone that's in the business that's living it and implementing it, it makes a world of difference, and you don't have a vendor cutting and running or underserving. This whole assist, NetSuite has an assist implementation. That's a joke. They give you, they're being sued left and right for it. They give you kind of a playbook. Here's your homework. Go implement your ERP system alone. We'll check in with you every week. And that just doesn't work. Yeah. It doesn't work.
Well, hey, so you said earlier, you'll never know if you don't ask. So I'll ask the question. Hey, Riley, you did not realize the complexity of Halo and didn't take a finance first approach. Would you like Sonia to reach out to you and talk to you more about your current setup and see how they can help?
And contracts and inventory, I know those are pains.
There you go.
Sure.
Riley said sure.
I know. I think the usual, very typical first. Halo inventory, question mark? That's
Yeah. Cool, Riley. I'll reach out. We'll leave it open for any other questions you guys have. And if you've got weird specific questions about Halo or ConnectWise, send them our way, send them to Steve, send them to us. And hey, we'll help you wherever we can, even if you don't want controller or CFO. Happy to share the love of everything that Julie, I feel like Julie, you're on the forefront of especially Halo implementation, and you've gotten in the weeds, I think as much as most people in the US have. I call you an expert.
I've had some hands-on experience that I feel very blessed to have. Now my next goal is learning run books inside of Halo and really customizing everything I can. We'll see. It's very exciting. It's a lot more than ConnectWise allows you to do, although I think ConnectWise is trying to also kind of keep up a little bit. So we'll see. The battle of the two head to head.
Good.
Well, very cool. Well, hey, thank you so much, Julie and Sonia, for coming on here and giving this presentation. I don't know that I learned a lot because, a lot of this stuff, it's like a really nice refresher. Let me tell you, it's a much needed refresher because, man, I was really good at just diving in and I wouldn't even read the documentation. I would just open the software and let's see what I can break.
No. Don't be the tech guy.
I was a great tech guy, mediocre business owner at best. So hopefully you attendees are much better business people than me. If you're not, reach out and we'll help you become one, a better one. So thank you so much, everyone. I will see you all at the next office hours on May 15th. We're going to have Dory Spade come and talk to us about retaining top talent. And this is going to be a 3-part series on basically mergers and acquisitions. I forgot the title already, but basically how to integrate and not fail. So definitely sign up for that. It's going to be a fantastic presentation. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you, Julie.